What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Icing the Puck. Man, oh man, things are heating up. Things are heating up, and the season is getting close to its close. Believe we have a good amount left. What do we got? What do we got? Like a month? Not
Like
even?
20 something games left. Yeah, like 20 games left, basically. A little less than
Yeah,
20. So
I
it went too
know.
fast.
I
Went
know.
too fast.
It really does. Every year, man. And, like the older we get and we have more stuff going on too, it's like life doesn't revolve around hockey as much, and then it just goes even faster. It's like,
Yeah.
damn. But
Yeah. But good news is that apparently I think next season's supposed to start sooner than it did this past one. So it's
okay.
supposed to start earlier in the year, I think. So that's good. Like I think it's supposed to start in like the beginning of October or end of September or something like that.
Good
So
news for us, man. Good news for us.
yeah.
Jordan, how are you doing, man? How you doing? Good weekend?
Oh, good weekend. Just doing normal things, nothing crazy, not a crazy weekend. Just watched some hockey, hung out, I mean, good stuff. Yeah, but it was a good week of hockey for sure. It was
It was. It
lots going
was.
on as always, but you said just getting into the final stretch here now. But this always turns into some of the best hockey of the season. So
Of course,
especially for these, the late season push for the wild card spots and stuff like that. So
it's heating
should be
up.
pretty
Like I
good.
said, right as we started, it's heating up. I had a good weekend, man. I had a bit of a bender this weekend. I did a lot of drinking, if I'm being honest. But it's good.
For
Sometimes it's a good
what's it called,
time.
right? Uh,
St. Patty's Day or whatever. Yeah, definitely enjoyed some festivities for that. Maybe we could post a video of me housing a Guinness this weekend just for the fans' enjoyment. Um, yeah, then had to, everything comes full circle in life. Had to wake up and fix my AC this morning. Part of being a homeowner. Enough about
things normal, regular guys, just regular
yep,
guys.
truly. But enough about being regular guys. We are hockey guys first and foremost. We're gonna jump into these divisions here, man. I'll let you take it away here and decide which one you want to get into first.
I kind of want to talk and start with the division that's had probably some of the most interesting hockey happening this past, couple weeks and stuff like that. And that is the Atlantic Division in
Mm-hmm.
the Eastern Conference. We talked about it a little bit last week on the last episode. Just in general, it's like Buffalo
Dude,
turning it on.
dude.
I like seeing all the things joking about. It's like, sorry, you guys had to deal with 15 years of mediocrity. It's like, here's some of the greatest hockey you've ever witnessed in your entire life, real
Is
quick.
Buffalo like actually the most entertaining team in the league right now? They might be.
They're pretty fun to watch. I will say that.
Dude, I have an
There's a lot
incredible
of teams
time
that are fun to
watching them.
watch. Yeah. There's a lot of teams that are fun to watch, not necessarily because they're winning the most, but there's a lot of fun teams to watch. There's another team in this division that I really enjoy watching too. Well, I don't really enjoy watching it, but I watch it because it's, I'm here for it. It's the Leafs.
Oof, oof.
The top and the bottom right there. Love
Let's
watching those two because I love watching the Leafs lose.
let's start at the top. We'll break down each of these teams, do kind of a quick little rundown here for each division. But obviously, like you said, Buffalo, they're on an absolute tear. Even especially since the Olympic break, this team, man, I feel like we talk about this with so many teams throughout the year, but they just know how to stay in games. And their team has really developed this chemistry that has brought them to literally to the top. I mean, Tage Thompson, dude, what an electric weapon he has become. For a guy that was really for a couple years, was just a one-timer kind of guy, he could do it all. And he's just this power forward that is so fun to watch. And I could go individual efforts here, but truly every player on Buffalo has contributed so well, including the new guys that they've added. But it's really the top guys like Darlene Thompson, Jason Zucker has been on a tear lately. You just love to see it, dude. You love to see it. And Alex Lyon, what a revival he's had in Buffalo.
Yeah. No, it's good. I started laughing when you said Tage Thompson just being a one-timer. Did you see that game the other day where he just hit like five
Yeah,
one-timers in a row on the
I
power
watched
play?
that whole game. Bro. It's so fun. Dude,
Yeah,
the
he might
comment,
be. He might.
Thompson,
Yeah,
Thompson.
he might be he might be an all-around forward, but he's still got that one-timer.
Dude, man,
That's
he is.
scary.
I mean, hardest shot in the league. Like, deadliest shot, in my opinion. Like, and I love players like that. Like, Tage Thompson is like my ideal kind of player. Like, I love like a big power forward who just has like a mighty shot. It's like Zeus's trident, essentially, is what he's carrying over there. Or Poseidon. It's Poseidon, right?
I was like, wait a minute.
Don't listen to me, guys. Zeus would be the next team we're going to talk about. We'll get into them in a second. But yeah, Buffalo is sitting at the top. They're 41, 20, and 6 with 88 points. Very few overtime losses there. They seem to just, like I said, they stay in games, they find a way to win. And how crazy, I mean, everybody's saying it, but a team that went from worst to first, after the Christmas break. So.
Uh-huh. Yep. I mean, and I do want to point out, it's not the highest in the league, but that plus 35 goal differential, huge difference in the beginning of the season. I mean,
Yep.
they started the first like month of the season like negative like 20 or 30 or something like that. It was crazy. And now a complete opposite. So,
Yeah, and going into
I
that,
mean,
I mean, this is a team that doesn't need to rely on penalties. Like, they're great 5-on-5, and kind of that's what I was saying with the depth of the team, which a lot of people didn't really believe in at the start of the year. And I mean, just guys showing up, and it's kind of what you said, change in management, and they're locked in.
Yeah.
They're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, the team has been, at the beginning of the season, on paper, the team was good. It wasn't working. It wasn't connecting. And then management changed, and then there you go. They're at the top of that division. And I mean, they're 4 points ahead of Tampa, who we can talk about next, who is also another team that's, it is pretty close up at the top there of that division, which is crazy to say that Buffalo is right up there with Tampa and like they're like battling for first in the division. That's crazy.
Yeah, the one thing about the Zeus team, though, Tampa, they trying to redeem myself. Ever since the Olympic break, they've been struggling. And that's a big part of why Buffalo's been able to rise to the top. And, Tampa, pretty strange, but they have the whole cast of characters back, and it's like, just something's a little off. I mean, defensively, they're a little shaky. They manage to score points. There's nothing wrong with the offense, and Vasilevsky still continues to bring his career back as well after a couple of, down years for him, but really not down years.
He's right now, he's the only reason that Tampa has not slipped further down the standings. I mean, they're 3-7 in their last 10 is really rough.
Yeah.
But he's holding them in, I could definitely see them right now, just the way they've been playing the past few weeks and stuff. I could have seen them with 10 losses like entirely. But yeah, Vasilevsky has, held them up a little bit, and hopefully they can turn it around here coming up, but they gotta, it's now or never, because if they don't and they slide further down in the standings, with how competitive that division is right now, they could slip too far and miss the playoffs, but we'll see.
Yeah, and one thing about Tampa is like we're assuming, they're in a good position. I think they'll make the playoffs still, whether it's top 3 or wild card, hopefully they turn this little losing streak around, this little funk they're in. But the thing that's different about Tampa compared to Buffalo is come playoff time, like you look at this roster, it's filled with winners. It's filled with guys who have done it before. Whereas Buffalo is playing really hot hockey, but they have a lot of guys who haven't really seen the lights. You have a couple guys who played in, 4 Nations or Olympics, like Thompson and Dahlin and whatever. But other than that, Tampa is just filled with winners. And, if you got John Cooper as your coach, you're in pretty good standing there.
Yeah, unless you're Team Canada.
Of course.
Yeah. By the way,
it's a little different.
Hockey is no longer Canada's sport. Doesn't matter what. It's no longer. America, bro, swept gold against Canada in all 3 Olympics.
Men's,
women's, and Paralympics. Canada,
that men we talked about the other week. That men's Paralympic team got to be tested for some kind of substance. Dude,
it's crazy.
It's a little crazy over there.
Yeah, even against Canada, I think they put up like 6 goals.
I don't know if this is, and maybe we don't make this a clip, but this could stay on the podcast. Like, can those kinds of people hold up when taking certain substances like PEDs? Like, how does it affect them?
I have no idea. I mean, it's not like it's it's just like physical injury. So I mean, it's not like
yeah.
All it is just it's just like it's like any other, enhancement drug, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's crazy, dude. They fucking go off in those games.
Allowing
It's
like 2 to 3
crazy.
shots on goal per game.
Yeah, their
It's
goalie
so
must get
crazy.
so bored.
Oh yeah. He's like a punter.
He's like, I'm just here, like I'm hanging out. Dude, I wonder how many assists their goalie has, how many points their goalie has.
He's contributing more offensively than defensively.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wonder if they just like like the team like just passes it to him to do. I didn't, and the stuff that I saw about it, they didn't obviously, but like that'd be funny. It's like, hey, I'm gonna pass this puck to you so you get a touch on it, so that we when you can pass it to the next person and then get some points, like pad his stats. Canada had the most shots on goal of any team that Team USA faced, so
yeah,
good for them, I guess. But still don't know how to win. Canada,
no,
always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Quoting Kachuk, we'll get to Florida in a sec, but did you see that Matthew Tkachuk is the slowest skater in the league?
I was just about to bring that up because I said that. You know what though? He doesn't need to be the fastest. He's still got 2 cups. Someone has to be the slowest.
Hey man,
that's a thought. That's the thing that a lot of people don't think about, because for a lot of people that don't know, like, I'm a big like Formula One fan too, and everybody always gives like the teams that finish at the bottom of the standings, or the guys that finish like consistently at the bottom of the grid, like in the last place or whatever. Somebody is going to be the slowest. I mean, when everybody's super fast, someone is going to be slower than everybody else. I mean, it's not that he's slow. Dude is still fast. Like, he's just the slowest of all these like NHL level skaters, but he doesn't need to be fast.
19.86 miles per hour, which is still no normal person could do that.
Yeah. Not everybody can be Nathan McKinnon, bro. But even though, did you ever see that old clip of Nathan McKinnon skating faster than like an Olympic speed skater in full gear? It's an old clip. It's an old clip on YouTube, and it was like it was not about necessarily like overall speed, because they definitely skate faster like long term. It was about like acceleration, because that's where hockey players. That's why they always measured in like speed bursts, because they have acceleration, which is way more than a lot of other like sports or anything that uses skates. But still, like I said, somebody has to be the slowest. It's still fast.
Yeah,
he's faster than I'll ever be on skates. So.
I don't think we could ever like get past you and I. Do you think we could breach 10 miles an hour on skates if we like trained for like 6 months?
I don't think I've ever gone, like, I've gone skating a few times in my life. Like, I was never really big into it. I think I don't even know like what speed it was. Like, it was like walking, kind of like walking speed, maybe
gliding,
which is like
type of deal.
Like 2 to 3 miles an hour or something like that. Isn't like 2 miles an hour like your normal walking speed?
Who knows?
I don't know, 3 miles. I don't know, whatever it is, but it's not fast at all. It's nowhere near 19 miles an hour. That's like it's like how fast you like ride a bike. Like going downhill.
Yeah.
Like that's what that is. So imagine that, but just like all like on your feet. That's crazy.
That's wild. Sorry,
that was very not off topic, but that was.
You're good. We're moving on to our next team. We got the Montreal Canadiens sitting in 3rd place here in this division, and this is a team that. Still, I mean, very entertaining team to watch. I think we've talked about that multiple times. They have a bit of a goaltending issue still. I think that's the one thing that's really holding this team back from a true potential of being in a top spot in this division. Defensively, they're pretty solid, but, once again, kind of like Buffalo, just not putting it together. Just a lot of younger players who are starting to gain experience, and inconsistent schedule, with the wins and losses. It's always back and forth with this team lately.
Yeah, I think we talked about it at the beginning of the season too. It's like they're a team that with another couple of years of experience and kind of playing together, they could absolutely be a cup winning team. And that's what, like, this is the kind of time when you can see it. Like, they're like a playoff level team right now, but like you said, with how kind of inconsistent they are sometimes, I don't think they're a cup winning team yet. But in a couple of years, I could absolutely see it. They need to make a few changes. Like you said, goaltending has been a problem. I mean, it's like hot and cold. Yeah, so their goalies switch back and forth. It's like one of them is on and like playing really well, while the other one is like in a slump, and then they switch back and forth, which is not sustainable.
Yeah,
I mean, they are holding on to that 3rd spot right now, just behind Tampa. But some of the teams behind them are kind of heating up a little bit, and that's where they might be a little bit worried. I don't think they're going to push any higher, but they just need to keep, maintain where they're at, because like
Yep.
Boston right behind them
Yeah,
is heating up a little bit.
they are.
Did you see
And
that
I am
shootout
so
with
yeah.
Boston?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Is that the 9 round shootout you're talking about?
Yeah, with
Yeah, with
Washington.
Washington? Dude,
Yeah.
insane. Insane. With Boston, I ate my words hard, dude. Like a team that I literally said would be last place in this division a long, long time ago, all the way back in October. I said they'd be last place. Like I did not see them doing anything this year. Dude, this team of like ragtag kind of, guys who are getting their chance, only behind like one or two superstars are really like lighting it up. And, props to my boy Jeremy Swayman, okay, for coming back and like really improving his game. Okay, after some down years, like here he is kind of living up to his contract a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can say that they made the right choice in which goalie to keep and which one to trade, but I mean, I think they made a good choice, but I don't know if one is, it depends on the
Wait a
team
minute.
that you're
You
playing
don't
with.
think they made the right choice?
No, I mean, I think that, I don't think that they made the wrong choice by any means, but I mean, I think that whatever choice they made was going to be good.
You think Olmark would be better if he was still with Boston? Is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Like, I think that whatever goalie stayed with the team would be performing well.
Yeah.
I think that even though, like you said, they don't have a ton of like superstars, it's kind of like the mental idea of playing for like Boston,
Yeah.
it's like they have this kind of elite status regardless of how well they're doing or who's on the team, because it's just like
Legendary reputation.
exactly, yeah. So I mean, I that's entirely just speculation. There's no data to back that up or anything. It's me just saying like I
Well,
feel like whatever goalie was on that team would
there's no
whatever of the two they
denying.
kept.
Yeah, Boston is a much better run organization than Ottawa. That's for sure. I mean, playing for Ottawa, it's a little rough. Not much motivation up there in
Yeah, what's
Canadian
funny
Tire
though?
Center.
They're a team. They're sixth place in their division. They actually still have a positive goal differential, which is crazy.
Ottawa?
Yeah,
Yeah, plus 20, dude.
plus 20.
And then you have Detroit above them with a -6.
Yeah, very weird.
But
Detroit
like,
is like a team that I like this year. Like I kind of just forget that Detroit exists. Like
I don't know how you
they're just
say
like
that.
they've just been like ghosts this season, dude. I never see anything about them. The only time I see them is like when I flip to their games or I'm watching like multi-view and one of their games is on.
Dude,
It's just kind of happening there. I'm like, nothing's
they've
going
been in
on.
playoff position the whole year up until this point, though. Like, and that's only because, like we said, you have teams kind of playing better, like Montreal and Boston. Montreal, Boston, and Detroit have been interchangeable in this division all year with that third place spot. I mean, Detroit was in second place for a while, but the only really notable thing with Detroit right now is John Gibson, dude. Like, that trade really worked out for them. He is like, getting his legs back, man, like back to his youth once again. Like,
Yeah.
he's been incredible.
But I mean,
stretch
when I was talking about like with like Tampa and Montreal and stuff like that, the teams that are behind them that are kind of heating up a little bit, I actually wasn't talking about Detroit. I was actually talking about Boston, and I was talking about the Senators.
Yeah,
Because
the Sens
again,
have
it's just like
climbed.
Detroit is just kind of like I don't know, like I just don't like this season. They just have not really been, even though they have been in a playoff spot, so they haven't felt like a factor this season.
Yeah,
I don't know. They
Detroit's
just don't
really
seem
weird.
like they were.
They're a team that like you watch them, and they have a lot of veterans on this team. Okay, it's an older group, and they play very slow, but they're very, very good on the power play. They're also good on PK too. Like special teams is a great factor for this team, but aside from that, like 5-on-5, and you could tell from the goal differential, like the -6, but they're still in a decent spot. Like, and it's kind of like you said, they're ghosts in the sense like when I look at Detroit, especially right now, like compared to the top three in this division and maybe even Boston with how they've been playing, like they almost don't fit in as much anymore. Like they're slipping very fast and they're not going to make.
They feel like a Pacific team right now.
A little bit. That's coming up maybe next, but let's close this division out. We have our bottom three. You already talked about Ottawa a little bit, but add on to that, we have two teams who have really played very well the past 5 seasons, but here we are with Florida and Toronto at the bottom, stinking it up.
Yeah. Um, Florida is another team that like even this year specifically, they just kind of have been like on the back burner. Like
Yeah.
they've just been so bad that I don't know, it just doesn't even I don't even think about them really right now unless I see something specific about them. And you don't really see a lot about them right now other than the whole like we said, like the Matthew Kachuk thing. That's like the most interesting thing that's going on with Florida in like the past 2 weeks.
Well, I have a
You
question for
know?
you about Florida. I think this is the hottest topic with them is, after this mediocre season, and, do they keep Bobrovsky or do they kind of move off of him? I mean, he's going to be 38. Do you let another contender maybe get him, or do you give him like a 1 year on event minimum or something?
I mean, I don't necessarily know if they move away from him. Who's their backup right now?
It's Daniil Tarasov.
That's right. I mean, I don't think like, and this is like where my kind of like I'm gonna like kind of contradict myself a little bit here because I've talked about a lot with like Binnington and stuff like that. It's like I think that they're gonna resign, not necessarily that I think they should, but I think that they will probably resign Bobrovsky just because of who he was and like I mean he won them 2 cups and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like they'll keep him around. Like he might not be their starter or whatever, but it's definitely. I don't think it's like time to like ditch him. Like I don't think it's like he's done absolutely terribly. I don't even think he's played. I mean, he's not been great, but
The team around
I
him
think he's
hasn't really
just.
helped.
I think he's just getting lit up this year and has like you can't make these miraculous saves all the time. Like
Yeah.
it takes a lot out of you. I mean,
Well, also at his age, like playing through 2 full Stanley Cup playoffs, and I'm not saying like, because obviously guys in the NHL aren't quitters, but like, is Florida maybe taking it a little easy this year because they just know they've been out of it? Like essentially, I'm saying like this second half of the season, did they start to accept their fate a little bit?
oh yeah. I mean, I definitely think that they know that it's not happening, so they're gonna just not rest everybody, but they're also gonna just like they're not gonna be,
Pushing as hard as before.
they will never say it, yeah, but they're not gonna be giving it their all for the rest of the season. I mean, they'll still try and win, and I'm not saying they're gonna like tank for whatever reason, but I don't like they're not. There's no reason to like risk themselves right now. It's like just maintain what we're doing, just get through this season, get to the off season, and we'll reset for next year. And if that means if Bobrovsky's involved in it or not, I don't know. I do think that they're probably regretting trading what's his name away, Spencer Knight
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
because that he was probably going to be the future of that
The next man
franchise,
up.
and then
Yep.
I mean.
He's
But
definitely the
gotta do what you
franchise
gotta do
guy
for
in
a cup.
Chicago now. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
And for him, that's probably, I mean, it sucks you get traded away and you don't win a second cup with that team, but
He got his
it's,
money. That's for sure.
well,
Start his
exactly. And
future.
it's like, I mean, he might be in a good position to, in a couple of years, win a couple more cups. You never know,
Yeah,
with,
Chicago gets going a little bit with the youth. Let's close it out here. I'm gonna let you rant about, dare I say, maybe, I don't know, I'd say your second least favorite team in the league. What do you got to say
Yeah,
about
I mean,
the Leafs here?
yeah, I mean, I'm not actually going to be, I don't necessarily want to rant. Like, I'm not going to like, I just was saying, like, I like watching them lose just because, like everybody loves the Leafs, and I'm just like, it's the Leafs. I'm a certified hater. It's my pastime is being a hater. So actually, that's not true. Being a hater is my full-time job.
With the Leafs, you could hate, but I feel like we talked about this like a month or a month and a half ago, but it is like so much more apparent now. This team has, dare I say, the biggest culture problem in the NHL.
I was gonna say, hold on. That kind of leads into what I was going to talk about. So obviously, we're going to talk about the hit on Austin Matthews by Rant
Yeah.
and the lack of response from the team.
Crazy.
I think like a lot of people online are saying like, oh, this team lacks muscle. This team lacks, whatever. I think it goes to show how much they like, I don't know if it's don't like, but how little respect they have for their captain.
Yep.
I think it's an issue with like the attitude towards Austin Matthews specifically than it is with like the team just doesn't want to fight. And that is where you're saying like they have a big culture problem. I don't know what the solution is for them. Is it trading Matthews to somewhere else or what? But I mean,
I'll
something's
tell you real
gotta
quick.
change there.
We could close this out because we got to move on to the next division. But here's the thing, like, whether it's Austin Matthews himself or it's the other guys in the locker room, like, we all know that there are a lot of personalities on this team. Okay, Austin Matthews is a superstar. William Nylander is the superstar that's kind of overshadowed by Matthews' popularity. Tavares is this, like, older superstar that's, really made himself known in the league. You have Max Domi. Like, there's a lot of faces on this team, okay? Like, and do all of these guys, like, yeah, maybe they're friends in real life or whatever, but do they mesh well, like, as teammates? And that goes back to the clip a couple years back, with Matthews, getting yelled at by Nylander, in the playoffs, and like, it's the same. There was, no response. They're just, him and Marner are looking forward. Nylander's yelling, there's no attention. And it's like, it's the same. You go into the Radko Gudas hit, which we'll get into that hit right now. I definitely think Gudas, it was a dirty play. I think it was a dirty play. He went knee on knee. He knew what he was doing. And now players are coming out. I forget who it was, but a player the other day said that Gudas goes for the knees all game. And we know that Gudas, he's an older player. He comes from a different generation and he plays very rough. And I think the 5-game suspension is warranted in my opinion. But yeah, that goes into the Leafs as nobody stood up for their captain. And that's a huge problem. I think there's a lot of change coming in the offseason. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a controversial thing to say, and like you said, a lot of people are kind of coming out and talking about it. I've always thought, even when he played for Florida, and like the year that they won the cup,
he lost a cup with them.
What's that?
He never won a cup with Florida.
No, that's right. I'm sorry.
But yeah, against Vegas. I know what you mean. Sorry.
The year that they went to the cup final and they lost to Vegas.
Yeah.
Entire like playoff run, it kind of showed how, like, I think he's actually like intentionally a really dirty player.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any way to like defend it or disguise it. And no matter what, like Ducks fans will try and argue, because of course he's on their team and they're going to try and defend him. A extremely dirty player. And I definitely think that there should have been, and this is where it gets rough. Like, this is such a gray area and there's really no good way to determine it or do whatever. I think 5-game suspension was not enough. I think it should have been probably a multi-month suspension. Mm-hmm. He probably should have not been able to play for the rest of the season. I think what he did right there, and from his track record, is way worse than players who have gotten in trouble and been suspended for multiple games or multiple like months at a time for arbitrary, stupid, outside the game reasons. The one that comes to my mind right now is like Shane Pinto. Dude got in trouble for gambling and got suspended for 6 months.
Yeah, and,
I mean,
and Gudas
or no, was it 6 months or
minor,
was it?
Yeah, it was close to it. It was a long time.
It was like 40-something games.
Yeah.
Who has a track record.
Anything. Yeah.
This is his 5th suspension.
Yeah. And real quick to the audience, like, y'all know us. Like, we defend rough hockey. Like, we defend tough physical hockey consistently. You could go back in our episodes and our clips. We do it all the time. But when it comes to something like this, like, and personally, as somebody who's had a tear in his knee, like in my life, that's happened to me. And I had one that's minor compared to Matthews. It is not easy to overcome by any means. And for an athlete, like, this is his livelihood. So I don't know. We're not out on the ice. These guys aren't out on the ice to do this to each other. And yeah, I agree. Gudas should face a higher penalty for this.
Yeah. And I was like, that's just like me saying that. Like, I'm not in charge of, determining that, or, and it's really hard to determine how you enforce that, or how you how you allow that kind of stuff to happen, or like how they manage it. But I think it's disrespectful to a lot of players who are elite athletes that it's like, he just ended this guy's season. It doesn't matter if it's like his worst season ever and like the team is doing terrible.
Still
he
his
might
season.
never play. It doesn't matter. He might never play the same again. Like, everybody's different. Like, sure, a lot of athletes come back from injuries like this and are fine, but it can fundamentally change how you are physically capable of playing this game. And great, he doesn't have to play 5 games. Dude plays like bottom 6 minutes
Yeah.
every game. I mean, he's barely an impact when he does play. Just because, I mean, he's the captain of that team, but I mean,
One of the worst captains in the league. I feel like this
yeah,
is just the dog on Radko Gudas show, but it's like
yeah.
he is a very questionable choice to be captain. I thought when they named him captain, and then you have this example here. So
Yeah, I mean it's a terrible look for that team, and I'm surprised that there's no. Obviously, you can see because the rest of the organization didn't come out to defend him either.
yep,
So even they know it's wrong and they know it's bad. I definitely agree with you saw the thing about Austin Matthews, his agent, saying like I think that the board or whoever the player safety organization should be suspended as well. It's like yeah,
yeah,
I mean like they
yeah.
totally did this terribly. And like he's talking about, it's like a phone hearing, not even an in-person hearing with the league. It's like it's kind of ridiculous. It's like
Crazy, crazy.
a slap on the wrist. 5 games is a slap on the wrist for that big of an I
Yeah,
mean, and I don't even think that necessarily, like, if it was, if there's these kind of things happen like in this game, like it's a physical game. If somebody gets injured in a play, and like everything is reviewable, and that's why like sometimes these rigid um these like really rigid punishments and stuff like that, like the fine amounts and all that kind of stuff, are this is one of those times where it's like a bad thing, you know.
yeah.
I mean, it's that's getting into a whole other can of worms that neither of us is really qualified to talk about, other than being just fans of the game and fans of these players. But it's yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it was not severe enough of a punishment, and
I
I think I'll
agree.
leave it at that.
I want to roll straight into another division with a similar situation. Hits very close to home. We're going to move to your Colorado Avalanche. We're moving into the Central Division because I'm itching to talk about it. We'll get into the Pacific at the end here, but your Colorado Avalanche still atop the league here, still atop the Central Division. Hottest topic with them right now is Nathan MacKinnon was under some fire, but then the league kind of stuck their neck out for him a little bit here, kind of took back what they saw.
I'll say this, and I think that it goes to show kind of how the internet works and how, I mean, this is not just a exclusive to hockey thing or anything like that. It's always the worst opinions that are the loudest.
Yeah.
And I will say this, not as this, there's no way for me to say this without sounding super biased being a Colorado fan.
That's okay.
And again, I'm not trying to defend my whatever. I'm just going to say it. If you think that Nathan MacKinnon deserved a suspension, a 5-minute major, a game misconduct, any of that kind of stuff for that play, you have no idea. You have zero clue how hockey works. And you're just like, as they say, you don't know puck at all. There is in no world was that worthy of a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. And the league said so by rescinding the game misconduct
and
like 2 days later.
What a great thing. What a great thing for them to rescind their decision at the time. Because if you watch the play, and this, we just talked about Gudas's character, we could talk about MacKinnon's character. MacKinnon, you can say whatever you want about him, okay? He's very competitive, he's very passionate, okay? And that could lead to him, his emotions could get the best of him sometimes, but MacKinnon has never been a dirty player. Okay, he's always put the game first over physicality until the playoffs. He really only gets physical in the playoffs. And if you watch the play, it's all Nurse ducking. It's Nurse ducking, getting in his way, causing him to leap, and his knee hits Nurse first. He goes knee first.
You can see, like, everybody likes to, again, and it happens in every league for every like controversial play or any controversial thing that happens. If you watch the frame by frame, you can find one that looks bad and you can just roll with it from there. It happens all the time in every sport. But watching it in real time, you can watching it, no replay required, like watching it from just a live feed.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way that play should have ever been called. At most a 2-minute interference penalty because he did hit the goalie. whatever, that's happens. That's the rules. Like you run into the goalie in the blue paint, regardless of intent, any of that stuff, 2 minutes, whatever. But to look at that for as long as they did, they looked at that for like almost like 6 minutes. It
Yeah.
was like two commercial breaks and all this stuff. And this is where my bias comes in, but also not a little bit. The only
Love it
reason
when you say this. Love it when you say this. Just let it rip.
what that I this kind of stuff.
The league hates the Avs. The league hates the Avs.
Not even that. It's not even that. The only reason they reviewed it as long as they did and they called it the way that they did in the moment is because it was the Oilers.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, different direction than I thought you were going.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what. Well, also to be fair, there's nobody else in the league that pulls off that move that McKinnon does like that. He does that all the time, where he skates to the net really hard and maneuvers out of the way right in front of the goalie. He does it all the time. There is no other player in the league that could do it like him.
Yeah,
maybe McDavid, but even McDavid doesn't skate like that. He doesn't play like that.
Nurse interfered with McKinnon.
When I was watching that, I actually was like, this should be an interference penalty on Nurse.
On Nurse, yeah.
Yes, I think that it should have been matching. It should have been matching minor penalties. But the entire issue with that play was Nurse. It was entirely his fault that happened. I mean, Ingram's fine. I mean, he got cut a little bit by his mask, and obviously he has to go on like concussion protocol because he had to by the league's requirements. I mean, he was fine. I mean, he got up, skated off himself. I mean, whatever. He was fine. I mean, I don't even think he has said anything like publicly like
no.
Nobody from the Oilers.
Know. These guys know.
Yeah. Nobody from the Oilers again has tried to, defend the league or say anything bad about McKinnon because they all know that was a total terrible call.
Yeah.
And obviously the league agrees because they rescinded it afterwards, which great, cool. Maybe get it right the first time so you don't have to do that. And again, people are going to be like, oh, he's just mad because they lost that game or whatever. It's like, yeah, I am, because the league and the refs in that game intentionally influenced the game to negatively affect the team that I root for. I mean, and anybody who is in that position. Huh?
Edmonton fans are going to have a ball with this clip, dude.
I don't care.
I can't wait for the terror in the comments.
I mean, they're Edmonton fans. They got nothing else to do going. So.
I agree with you, too. I mean, I think we could settle it on that. Like, the league made the right decision rescinding their decision. Like, basically calling it what it is, that it was a mistake. McKinnon did nothing wrong here. It was an accidental play.
If players get pushed into the goalie and they make contact with the goalie, so like that, I mean, that kind of stuff happens. Like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's to try and come out and say, like, people that were trying to say online that it was like a dirty play and it was intentional. And it's like, if you think that, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would defend it where it doesn't matter what team it was. That play was, I don't even think that a lot of Edmonton fans agree with that take.
Most likely.
So regardless of whatever, I think they'll also agree that it was a bad call.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've spent enough time on Colorado here. I would love to get into something a little more positive, not so controversial, just straight plain facts. And that's that my Dallas Stars are the best team in the NHL over the past month. And there's no denying this, all right?
Well, I mean, there is one team that might be better, but we already talked about them. But we'll talk about Dallas.
14 in their last 15 games without Mikko Rantanen. No Rantanen on the ice.
Is he the problem?
Hintz has been out. No, he's not the problem. Okay. It's enough of your rage bait. Okay. No Rope Hintz for the past 4 games. Controversial opinion here.
That's right, because Nathan McKinnon intentionally ended Rope Hintz's season.
Okay,
he's a dirty player,
Not a dirty hit by McKinnon, but definitely, I feel like Stars fans hate their own. When it comes to me, maybe. Rope Hintz is a soft player. I said it. Rope Hintz is a soft player. He's been a soft player for a long time. Bro misses time for and obviously I don't play hockey, so I don't know. Okay, injuries happen. I've never been in the position. Rope Hintz just be missing time at the worst times every single year. Okay, and he comes back and like, yeah, he's like a, I'd say he's like, people say he's an underrated center in the league. I think he's perfectly rated. Okay, he is like a second line center at best. Okay, notice how things have been much better without him on the first line. Okay, but I'm not gonna focus on him. I want to
You know,
focus on the
it's funny.
positives because this team.
It made me think about it when you say that. Rope Hintz treats injuries like basketball players do. He
He
falls down. It's
does.
like
He
he's
literally
gonna miss
does,
4 weeks.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. I don't know, but honestly, would not be mad if they traded Rope Hintz. Would not be mad. But okay, I want to talk about the positives. Otter is back. Okay, Otter has been on one. Matt Duchene is playing at a level never seen before in his career. I'm actually saying that. Okay, he is like leading this team, and I would not be mad if Matt Duchene got the C when Jamie Benn leaves. I would not be mad about it. But
He's there
Jamie
for another
Benn,
3 years, right? Didn't he sign a 4-year
yeah,
contract?
uh
Yeah.
huh, uh huh. There's no reason for Jamie Benn to leave because he's playing on a high level right now, dude. He is playing so well. Jamie Benn, Sam Steele, and Matt Duchene are carrying this team. But
Jamie Benn
let's
does that every season. He like
he
has
does,
like
bro.
the slump,
He
and then he
waits
just
till
like
the end. He
goes
waits till
off
the end.
nowhere. Yeah, he just goes off out of nowhere, and then everybody's like, he's so back. Like this is why like he always like plays himself back into like a
Yes.
deal or something like that every time. It's
The
so
key
funny.
piece of this team, though, the absolute key piece, who will, mark my words, wear the C for this team in the future, is Wyatt Johnston. He is the X factor for the Stars. He will be the X factor going into the playoffs. The kid is electric. He's only increased his goal total every single year of his career. I mean, what a steal the Stars got in Wyatt Johnston. He might be my favorite, most underrated player on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I will 100% say Dallas has played amazing in the past month since the Olympics.
Perfect timing.
And yeah, exactly. Perfect timing. It's very scary. I'm not that concerned as an Avs fan. But Minnesota should be scared. Minnesota
I'm not
should
scared
be
of
worried.
Minnesota anymore. How I used to
Yeah.
say that, I'm not so scared of them anymore. And listen, I got done with my gloating about the Stars. Let's move into the Wild because they've kind of swapped with Dallas a lot here with second and third place. But Dallas has a pretty handed, lead on them now with 6 points in the second place spot. Minnesota's been in a bit of a slump a little bit too, and they're kind of just inconsistencies. The goaltending has slowed down a little bit after that, star-studded season both of those guys were having. And really just things, they're still a good team, but things are a little off. And maybe the trade deadline wasn't the best for them. Maybe getting a couple of these older, slower pieces that don't mesh so well with the younger guys and the speed that they had.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. I did not understand the move to get Nick Foligno. I really don't. I guess that was kind of a culture thing, like a team morale kind of thing.
Type of,
yeah. But that's great and all. That does not make a difference for playoffs. And ultimately, if he adds like if you get a player, if you add anything at the deadline, it should be people who are going to help you with a playoff run in more ways than just it's cool to have him in the locker room. He's good for the team like that way. I'd much rather have players that are good for the team actually in gameplay than anything. Yeah, Minnesota has definitely kind of Minnesota'd themselves and kind of just gone back to their roots of just being like, I mean, they're doing well like in the standings and everything, but they're also kind of playing like they have the past couple seasons right now, as in like they'll win a couple, they'll lose a couple, they'll win a couple, they'll lose a couple. And that has always hurt them in the past. They've kind of like stagnated a little bit. Obviously, they have a very substantial lead in the standings over their fourth place, but I don't think their playoff spots in jeopardy or anything like that.
No.
But I think they should absolutely be a little concerned about playoffs because
especially going to Dallas. Going to Dallas is going to be very rough.
Is crazy. Again, this will be the time I bring it up, talk about it all the time. It is an absolute travesty that two of those three teams that are in the Central Division, two of the three teams that are, at the top of the league right now, will be gone after the second round. Absolutely. In no world should that be. And that kind of goes to my point that I've said in the past. I don't think that the best team wins the cup every year. And that is why the playoff format needs to change. The team that wins the cup is always a team that does the best in the playoffs, but they are not, it does not mean that they are the best team in the league. And it's because of the playoff format that's why. There could be so many better matchups for cup finals if they rearrange the format for the playoffs. But until they do that, it's just a shame that I don't even like there's in no world should one of the top teams be gone unless they absolutely choke in the first round against the thing like Colorado did a couple of years ago in 2023 or whatever. Like there's no reason that one of the top teams in the league should not make playoffs because they had to face the team right below them in the standings very first. Like that's ridiculous. Yeah. Maybe at that should be like a conference final or like the semifinals for the cup or whatever. Those kind of teams should play each other, but to play each other first round is just such a waste of good hockey.
Yeah, and it's just like one of these teams between Dallas and Minnesota who can, I guess, really make an impact down the stretch. Like, one of them's gonna be gone. And there's going to be, maybe a series. I mean, one of them will play Colorado, so that won't be an easy series. But what if one of them ends up playing a Pacific team in the conference final or whatever, and it's just
I was gonna say I kind of want to kind of segue that, like not just like skip around or whatever to jump over to the Pacific. Like I want to jump over. No,
we could jump to the Pacific. We could jump the Pacific.
Yeah, because like the fact that some of these Pacific teams will make it to the second round. And one of the top teams in the league in Minnesota, Dallas, Colorado, whatever, will not be in the second round is just ridiculous. The Pacific Division shouldn't even be in the playoffs. They should just not even be allowed to compete. Like that division is so bad. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't think enough people have talked about this because you have a lot of teams that like are fan favorites, like league favorites in the Pacific. Like Vegas obviously is very favored by just the league. And
don't get me wrong. I love like San Jose, and I would love to see them play in the playoffs.
Yes,
because it's cool, and like because of their history and their nostalgia. But I don't even think they're. Are they a playoff team right now?
No, they're not.
They're not a wild card team right now. No, they are a wild card team right now.
They are.
They're wild card. They passed
3 points
Seattle,
over Nashville.
Right. Yeah.
So
they passed Seattle.
Over Seattle.
The Kings. Yeah, the Seattle and the Kings. But anyway, I don't know if this might be a clip too. I don't know. If San Jose makes it to the playoffs right now, it's awesome because San Jose is in the playoffs again. They absolutely 100% did not earn it. Because the only reason they're in the playoffs is because of the way the format, the playoff format. This episode's gonna be full of hot takes, full of stuff. I'm on one right now. I don't know why, but
well, so here's my thing. I want to talk about the Pacific really quick. I have some opinions on it too that correlate to what you're talking about because I was saying they have a lot of league favorites here, like the Oilers and Vegas. Like people love them, and people love San Jose right now because of the two young guys over there. Yeah, but in general, this division is like new levels of down bad. Like for our football fans who watch, this reminds me of the NFC South when the Panthers have won that division twice with losing records. Okay, and I believe the Falcons have won with a losing record before. And none of these teams don't have losing records because obviously hockey works different than football. But like if you look at the point totals of these teams in the Pacific Division, they don't stand a chance in the Eastern Conference. One bit. Like, they would get smashed if they played in those divisions. Okay? And somehow, like Jordan said, with the playoff format, which I was never had a big opinion on this, but when I look at it because of this season, like, yeah, maybe it is time to consider changing the playoff format. Because, like, did any of these teams really earn this? Like, they've played mediocre all year, and Vegas has relied on overtime, and same with the Kings, to even get them in some sort of a position. Look at, is it even that hard to say, Calgary with 59 points is even that bad compared to some of these teams? Actually.
No, I don't, it's I don't think, the only reason Calgary's bad is because they keep losing in division. Yeah. Calgary needs to figure out how to not lose against their own division, and they might be better at some point, But here's the thing: we're talking about the way the playoff format. There was a clip that just came out a couple days ago of Gary Bettman talking about the playoff format. Somebody asked him about it. He said they have absolutely zero thought about changing it. And this is where like I don't know the right word for it, like the disdain for sports and like marketing and,
Yeah,
money and all that stuff. The only reason the playoff format is the way that it is entirely because of money.
100%, because
It is
you have
not
different
because
regions. You have different regions. You have every single region being represented, and guess what? That means more gambling all across the globe here. Okay, like all across North America, and then you have just all different markets showing up, buying tickets, merchandise stuff. I mean, you're 100% right.
yeah.
So
And that is one of the fundamental flaws with sports in general. I mean, it's not specific to the NHL, is the fact that it's not about the best team winning and that stuff. It's about making the most money possible. I get that these teams are businesses. I understand that. It's not like it's not a charity. It's not for fun. It's not for
yeah,
whatever. Like these are businesses at the end of the day, and they are here to make money, because if they didn't, we wouldn't have these leagues. But I think that there is more opportunity and more growth to make this league bigger and better, and the high end of making money would be way higher if the format was different. I think they would have more fans, they would have more viewership. It would be a whole different game if they did it properly.
it's almost
But
like
it's a risk. It's a
Yeah.
risk to change that, and that's what they don't like.
well,
Sorry, I'm getting
no,
heated.
you're good. You're good. It's a
Sage
gamble.
walked away. Sage walked away. She's like, "Oh no."
It's a gamble by league executives, and once again, you could go across the board with the NHL, the MLB, NFL, whatever, NBA, whatever you want to do here. It's a gamble across the board of whether you want to focus on regional equality with these businesses, or I feel like we're on a Zoom meeting here for our corporation, regional equality. But that, or just the pure competition and competitiveness of the league. Like, are you going to let the bad teams like slip in the dust, or are you going to give them a fair shot? And like, it's a gamble because you're betting on, do people want to see the best play, or do they just want to see their team in the picture?
And that's
really
it.
what it comes down to.
And that's what it is, because it sells. Teams, even if it goes to I mean, there's sports teams like in every league that are bad, have been bad, will stay bad, and never be good.
Mm-hmm.
But they have diehard loyal fans because people like to like teams. They like to root for their team regardless of what happens with them.
Yes.
And I know like it's going to sound so disingenuous coming from fans of two teams that have been historically been
top,
good their entire
right
existence. I mean, even like across the entire existence of these teams, they've been good. I mean, Dallas won a cup 2 years after moving, didn't they? 3 years after moving? Couple years after moving. Three. Yeah, Colorado won a cup the year after they moved. Like they were good from the start. But I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's so crazy to me. But again, I'm not the one making the rules. I'm not the one that has to worry about losing millions and millions of dollars by changing the playoff format.
Yeah.
Which again, overall, like long term, I think that it would generate more money that way. But you would have to have the league supporting these teams, because if you did it that way, a lot of these teams would be bad and would stay bad and would never make the playoffs.
True.
And that does not sell. And that they would lose a lot of fans. They would lose money that way. So obviously the bad teams are a very big fan of the way the playoff format is.
Yes,
but the good teams and the teams that get shafted because they don't get a playoff spot because of the bad teams probably absolutely hate this format.
And
like a lot of teams right now in the East probably hate the format, because if there were more spots available for it, regardless of division or regardless of conference,
yeah,
the Eastern Conference would be stacked representative wise. They would be represented.
And to add to
way
what
more.
you said about like how the best team doesn't always win the cup, which sounds weird when we say it, but please just try and understand where we come from. Like right now, I just get this vibe and this feeling that like Vegas is just gonna make it to the conference final. And
I totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be Vegas, and like, watch, they might, like, let's say it's like a Vegas Colorado. I totally see Colorado just winning in 5. Like, I really, really do at this point. It's like, I don't know. Like,
you put these teams even within the same conference head to head to each other. And again, it sounds like bias or whatever, but I mean, just fundamentally, Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, I mean, are just better teams. I mean, they're just in a 7-game series. All 3 of those teams, as long as they don't play each other, I think will come out ahead of any other team in this division or this
Yeah,
conference.
and you know me with the podcast, I'll always play devil's advocate here. With the way the format is set up currently, it does pave the way for like an underdog story.
Absolutely.
And everybody loves an underdog. I mean, you look at Florida in 2023, like, you know, obviously people loved them. They were the group that nobody thought stood a chance. They snuck their way in for the first time in so long, and here they are. Like, people love stuff like that, man, you know, and with this format you can get that. So I mean, and
but that
watch
again
this
goes
year.
into the just it sells. That's all it is.
Sells.
It's like
It sells.
it sells more jerseys, it sells more
It's
tickets,
TV,
it sells
it's
more
entertainment at that point, you know,
Yeah.
which
But it
which
is. It is.
part of
I get
part
that.
of like both of us love that too. Like, I mean, I remember that year you loved Florida, like you had a
Dude, yeah,
thing with them.
I was like, oh man, yeah, I was a big Florida. I was a bandwagoner for sure that season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Doesn't help that they have one of my favorite players.
Yeah. True.
Even
Listen,
though only because everybody compared me because of my beard and stuff like that to him. But
yo, we gotta put the picture up, dude. Like, please, this dude, everybody, like, clip this. There's no denying that Jordan looks like Sam Bennett.
just
like-
because I have a beard and my head is shaved, like
No, but it's like the same color. Y'all have the same hair color too, dude. It's
isn't he
crazy.
like no? Doesn't he have like reddish kind of hair?
I don't know. I'm colorblind. Don't ask me.
Yeah, like your green shirt the other day.
Yeah, it was okay. We're not getting into that, bro. We're moving on to the Metropolitan Division. Okay, we've been in the West too long.
I was gonna say,
here.
there's not really that much I want to talk about in the Metro, other than, again, I'm just kind of on one right now.
Mhm.
Like, this division has been like, it's kind of very similar to the Central. You've got the teams at the top who have been pretty good the entire season, and then you've got the guys in the middle right now. Other than like Washington started hot and they kind of cooled off, and they're kind of gotten stuck in the middle there.
Yeah,
And then Pittsburgh started a little slow, and now has come back.
and now they're back.
And
Yeah,
they're doing really well, even without Sid. They've been really good.
and Sid comes back soon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
honestly, they absolutely fleeced the Oilers with that
They got the
trade.
better end of the deal.
Absolutely. Actually, Sam and I were actually just talking about this the other day because he's a big Penguins fan, you know? So we were talking
We
about
gotta get Sam on here.
it. We need to. Yeah, dude. That was so fun one time. Like, Skinner has been, through his entire career, if you look outside of like the really bad performances in some aspects, like he's been this kind of just like this constant, like this kind of like stagnant, like very just like average goalie.
Yes.
Right. And then he was playing for Edmonton and he was just getting lit up, and like it's rough. It's really rough.
Except
to
for
play
when
them.
he plays the Stars in the Western Conference Final.
Dude, yeah. And then he goes to the Penguins, and he's still there, but they have a much better team around him, and he's fine. Right. And then you look at Jari, who in his career has had higher peaks and lower like valleys.
Yes,
in his play.
100%.
When he's on and he's playing really well, he's really good. But when he's not, he's really bad. And that right there is just being exposed in Edmonton because he just can't turn it on because the team is just so bad. And just
Real quick, I know this is kind of pivoting back to the West a little bit, but Skinner's a free agent at the end of the season. Do you think he just goes right back to Edmonton?
if I were
do you
him,
think-
if I were him, I would not. I think
I would not.
I
go
think
back.
he's signing a like relief of getting out of Edmonton, dude. I think he was probably like, he's like, I mean, just goes to show the guy that got traded for him just today that the Oilers announced and said that Ingram
He's the backup.
he is the backup. So
Yep.
he is actually the backup because and they said they want to focus on him getting his confidence back in practice.
Yeah,
That's
crazy,
rough. But
crazy.
there's one specific thing I want to talk about in this division that doesn't have to do with the standings, because the standings haven't changed that much.
No,
It's always been like Carolina's been at the top. Carolina is consistent. They're
it's
so
really just Philly and Washington falling
yeah.
compared to where they were like
Yeah.
a month ago.
Islanders are there. I mean, again, they made some really weird moves at the deadline. Their play's been good. They're actually entertaining to watch this season. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Sorokin, real quick, Sorokin, like back to Vesna form. Like
Mhm.
he is holding that team strong, and Islanders fans like. Because I remember a lot of Islanders fans were flaming this guy. Like, oh, we gave him this deal, and after he wins the Vezina, he's not worth it. And it's like, dude, like, maybe the team just wasn't that good, you
Yeah.
know, and now they're good again. They have a reason to play again.
Yeah, now they better be glad that they didn't listen to their fans and get
Yeah.
rid of him. But I want to talk about the Rangers, and I want to talk about one specific thing about the Rangers.
Okay.
I want to talk about Shesterkin and what happened in that game where he got run into. Because this goes into kind of like what we talked about with McKinnon and Edmonton and stuff like that. I don't know how to say this without it's going to be sounding controversial. I'm on one. I'm just going to come out and say it. I think the league is protecting goalies too much.
Whoa.
Because Shesterkin intentionally skated into a player, but because it was in the blue paint, he got touched. He sold it so hard. He should have gotten a penalty for diving, for embellishment. Like, these goalies are getting away with way too much. They intentionally, when they go to play the puck, get in players' way, and players know that they can't even lay a finger on them, or else the other team goes absolutely berserk and the league throws them under the bus and they get fined and whatever, because these goalies are too, like, they know that the league will protect them too much.
They've gotten a little arrogant, especially, you could focus this around the guys who get paid more, like Shesterkin. They know their abilities. They know what they can get away with and what they can't, and this is kind of like, the first major controversy with Igor Shesterkin, but there's a lot of stuff in the past. If you look at some of the Rangers playoff series of some stick taps by him, some tripping in the past, and I'm not at all saying Shesterkin is a dirty or a cheating, deceptive kind of player.
Yeah.
I think it's
goalies. I think it's goalies are just, they're seeing now how much they can push their luck or push the rules a little bit.
And get away with it. This is like quarterbacks with the roughing the passer thing. Like, quarterbacks in the NFL will intentionally put themselves in a position to fall harder sometimes and get that extra 15.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen, prime example there. But, this is like, it's similar to that, but in a hockey sense. Like, goalies are very, very protected. And obviously, we should protect our goalies. We should protect all.
I'm not saying that they should be targeted, like that players should be able to hit them. But I think that, goalies should get called for interference way more than they do.
Or embellishment.
Embellishment is one, but the biggest one, and I notice it all the time, regardless of what. Every goalie does it. And some of them are worse than others, but a lot of goalies do it. When they go to play the puck behind the net, right? There's a certain, a little bit, like, you can be like, try and, throw off the player who's like coming to try and attack the puck and, and cause a turnover and stuff like that. But they intentionally get in the way of these players, so much so that they will, like, these players are trying to get around them. They will move into them intentionally to slow them down. The only players on the ice that are allowed to make contact with a player that doesn't have the puck like that are defensemen. And that's because they're allowed to defend the zone. That's the only time. Forwards, even when they're playing defense, are not allowed to do it. Only defensive players are allowed to do that. Well, I guess they're going to make the argument that goalies are defensive players and they can do that.
Yeah.
But they also know that the player can't be rough back with them and give them a shot back to, or like try and push off of them and do that kind of stuff, because they know they're protected. And I think it's a big issue, and I think there needs to be some changes there.
Yeah.
What that is, I don't know. I think the biggest one is going to be starting to call these goalies for interference more often.
Yeah.
And if that gets to be the case, and this is like a huge major rule change, and this is just like off the top of my head kind of thing, I haven't really thought about this until just now. Maybe they should make it that goalies have to serve penalties and you have to put your backup in while your goalie's sitting a penalty.
That
would be crazy.
I've thought about that for a while. Like, that would make the game so interesting, because it's very rare that goalies actually get called for a penalty too. Like, so why not implement that side of the game? And a lot of people are going to think this is stupid to talk about or whatever, but like, who else is bringing up opinions like this?
Yeah. I think that it's an interesting concept of, like, everybody's going to be like, a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, but the goalie the backup goalie that goes in, or the goalie that wasn't starting, is at such a disadvantage, and that team's at a disadvantage because the goalie hasn't been warmed up. Don't commit the penalty. Exactly. Yeah, they should be. They should be at a disadvantage. I mean, and it's.
And now, would it stay a 5-on-5 just with a backup goalie?
That's a good point, actually. See, again, like, that's not something I thought about. I think that's fair. I mean, a
Yeah,
five on
I
five
mean,
with your backup goalie all of a sudden is one thing, but then again, it's like then you have to like logistics of like, well, what about when the penalty's over? How do you get the goalie
well
back
then all
out? It's like,
then also the warm up too, because every goalie is given a warm up before they start play, like due to
only the
injury or
only time
whatever.
they're allowed is if there's an injury to the
Yeah,
other goalie. Yeah, if they swap goalies,
there's no warm up. Yeah, there's no warm
they
up.
can call a timeout and do it, but they are not allowed to fight. They're allowed like a 2 minute warm up or something like that
Hmm.
to get.
I think like adding on to this just because it's a fun discussion. I think what it would be is if a goalie commits a penalty, backup has to come in, okay, and then next time the whistle is blown
They
is
can
when the
switch
starter is
back.
allowed to come in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after like the 2 minutes or whatever.
yeah, hmm
Yeah, so you stay 5 on 5. The backup goalie has to come in. He has to sit in the box. It's like
and I think everybody would love to see
yeah,
a goalie sitting in the penalty box.
yeah.
Like how
It's like I
silly
mean,
would
it's like
that
when you
look?
have
You
like
know?
a fighting major or a fighting penalty that even after the penalty served, they can't come back onto the ice until there's a stoppage. I mean, I think that would make it interesting, and it would be like you have to play. Your goalie has to be disciplined. They can't take a penalty, otherwise, yeah, you are at a major disadvantage, and you should be at more of a disadvantage because right now, yeah, I mean they go down 5 on 4,
Yeah,
on the power play or the penalty kill and stuff like that. But I mean, the person who caused it doesn't have to have any consequences other than it goes on his, it goes on his like record or whatever as on his stats sheet as a penalty minute. Like, I don't know. That's just kind of like one of those things that's kind of popped into my head at when I saw that happen. But I think that was just like, I think the bigger issue is just goalies are getting away with too much right now.
for sure.
I think that there's a little bit of leeway there, and they should be allowed to be like obviously when you say like they're allowed to be in the blue paint, but I think the reason they're getting away with that stuff is because of other things that are happening with goalies, like the goalie interference calls that are so
Yeah,
wildly inconsistent. But I think that like part of the reason they're inconsistent is because they've been getting away with a lot. It's like a controversial, like a double-edged kind of thing. Like they're getting away with more because they're not getting these interference calls, but they're not getting these interference calls because they keep doing stuff and being allowed to get away with it.
yeah.
That's
There's
the controversy. That's the conspiracy theory in my mind.
tons of nuance with this.
Yeah.
Tons of nuance.
And this
with
is just a
topic.
discussion. This is not, I'm not trying to say like it absolutely needs to be changed right now.
Yeah,
But
bro. TikTok is gonna say
yeah.
the other end of it.
Yeah.
But
You know what's funny? I was just thinking about when I was talking about like kind of like we've been like kind of ranting a little bit. I've been specifically probably more me been ranting a little bit this episode.
yeah.
It reminds me of like those like like old like Fox News where they would have like this panel on and they would all just be ranting about the same thing and they'd all just be like
Yeah.
agreeing with each other like really aggressively. That's all that I thought of when I was talking about that. Because like you would start going, I'm like, yeah. And then I would say
That's
something
like
you'd be like, yeah.
2015 type of stuff, dude.
Yeah.
2015 core right there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like all they do is they just get like 4 guys on there that all are, of course, are going to agree
Yeah,
with each other.
yeah.
And they're just like,
Like an echo chamber
they just
type
start
of deal?
feeding
Yeah.
off of each other.
Okay, one last thing I wanted to close this episode on, and it's in the Metro, is the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'd be really, really intrigued because they're fighting for a playoff spot, dude. And like, they made it. Was it last? Yeah, last year they made it, right? They made it last year.
Mm.
No, they barely missed. They barely missed. Sorry, they barely missed.
It was between them and who got the spot? Was it Ottawa?
Yeah, it was. Ottawa's got in last minute, but this is a team that's like super interesting. They're just outside of a playoff spot, right behind Detroit, and right behind Detroit.
Yeah, they're 1 point off of Detroit.
And man, you watch Columbus play, and like the league just needs to do some justice. Get Zach Werenski in the playoffs, man. Get him in.
Dude is
something
such a
that
good player.
matters.
Yeah.
God, he is just. I would, if Cale Makar didn't exist, like seriously, I'd be advocating give Zach Werenski the Norris Trophy, man. Like this guy is special.
I said that at the beginning. Remember when we talked about our awards, I said that I feel like this could be his year. Like,
Over 20 goals, dude.
Yeah, he was a runner-up last year. I mean,
yeah, he always is. I think he always will be. Like I think it goes Makar, Hughes, and Werenski right there. I mean, easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it. Again, like those players, they're like the top 3 defensemen, but they're also very different in a lot of ways. Like Cale Makar is like really good at both, but he sometimes can be a little inconsistent. Like he can make some slip ups. Hughes is definitely really, really good, like on like the power play, and when he has
the best quarterback
when he has like the man advantage, he is elite.
Yes.
but he's really good defensively too.
Could just score goals. It's
is
nuts,
just so offensive, like
Yeah.
so offensively minded. He reminds me a lot of like Carlson, like early Carlson.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
That's a great comparison.
But now, it's been unfortunate to see him overshadowed in some ways because he is a really good player.
Yeah. And I love what Columbus has done with their team this year. Like the Mason Marchment trade has been so good for them. The Connor Garland trade at the deadline has worked out so well. And their goalies have been playing great all year. Jet Greaves has like a great future, a very bright future at Columbus. Like, I mean, the East is so interesting in that way, man. Like it's been tight all year and it's like, it's gotten a little bit, like lopsided now, but like, Detroit slips out of this thing, man, and Columbus keeps this streak up, dude. I mean, we have a really interesting shake at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So.
I still think they just need to get themselves more relevant by fixing their uniforms, making them better. But after that, they made it.
I wanted to bring this up because, like, no joke, I want to say thanks to all of our Columbus fellas, man. We have a huge Columbus following on this podcast. Like, for real.
It's because we talked about the cannon. We talked about how cool the cannon was. That's why.
The amount of y'all, we didn't talk about this, the amount of y'all tagging the Blue Jackets on the Cannon post is insane. I think we had over 20 comments just tagging the Blue Jackets, trying to get us free tickets. Yeah,
that's legit. That's awesome.
And like everybody, I guess the organization is really like cool about this. Everybody was posting pictures in the comments of them firing the cannon. Like all these people get to fire the cannon. Like you could just be a normal fan. Dude,
nothing. Sorry, I was gonna make a really bad joke, but I'm not gonna do it.
I think we're thinking the same thing. We should probably keep it quiet. Okay, let's keep it quiet.
But I mean, dude, if I could fire the cannon, I don't care. I don't
know if they'd let Sam Bennett fire the cannon, bro. Like, I don't know if they'd do that,
dude. No matter what, no matter who they're playing, if we go to a game, I am a Columbus fan that day.
Me too. Me too. Love
100%. As long as I get to wear one of their alternate jerseys, I'm a fan.
I would get one if I found one on Mercari. Yo, elite puck knowledge here. Everybody get on Mercari. From one fan to another, get on.
Yeah, that's where I got a lot of my jerseys, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You put me onto that.
Him and I buy each other a birthday present from Mercari. I think like every year. It's like a thing.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But yeah, listen, we just wanted to give some Columbus love. Listen, y'all, it has been so great coming back. I think we were both ready. One of us more than the other was ready to get some words out, from his chest this week. But great discussions here, man. Always a pleasure to come and talk puck with you. I think it's been a great week, great month of hockey since the Olympics ended. Like we said at the beginning, things are seriously heating up, and I think they're just going to get crazier. As sad as it is every year when it's about to end, this truly is the best stretch of hockey. Okay, after the All-Star break or Olympic break, Four Nations, whatever it is, like this is the best stretch, and it just gets so intense every year. And man, we're gonna get back to our roots real soon and cover the playoffs because that's how we started this show, was covering the playoffs. We haven't done it since. So,
dude, it's been good. It's funny. I keep seeing like this past month since the Olympics, so many commentators slipping up and saying the All-Star break instead of the Olympic break. So many of them, national broadcasts, local broadcasts,
they're using their normal schedule.
Everybody's doing it. You all keep saying the All-Star break, and it's so funny every time. But no, it is absolutely the best part of hockey, the best time for like the regular season hockey.
Yes.
And specifically, I think we even mentioned that at the beginning of the season. Like, it's the best, like, when the teams are making that push for the wild card slots and that fight. It's so entertaining to watch because these teams they give it their all, and then they get in the playoffs, and then they somehow give even more. And that's what's awesome about hockey. So, yeah. No, it's been good to talk about hockey this week. And like I said, I was maybe on one a little bit this week, but you know what?
No, love it.
That's the best part about this. Because because it's our show. We could do whatever we want.
Exactly. And no matter how much y'all flame us in the comments, we don't really care. But listen, it's been great. Thank you for all the engagement. We're almost at 500 followers on TikTok. Thank you so much. We're very appreciative of that. Follow all the socials. We're going to get active here. Thank you for all the engagement on YouTube too, man. We've had some great YouTube engagement lately. Please keep it up. Share this with everybody you know. And listen, we'll see y'all in the next one, man. We're not done. We're coming back.
Keep tuned. We're here to stay. And
yes, sir.
We'll see you in the next one.